Good Monday morning, everybody. It has been a while. My goodness. I don't know what's going on, but check Coco out. She's enjoying watching out the window this morning. It's kind of a cute little view of her. Maybe because Frankie's also in my lap. He does that, you know, when it's cold. So she said, it's too crowded, Mom. I got to get over here and look out the window. Maybe that's her deal. I am so happy to be back with you guys. It seems like forever. Been getting things ready between holidays, decorating our house for Christmas. And most of last week I was actually in my daughter's car, which doesn't have my little clippy thing there, so it just got out of hand basically, and just didn't get her done. So glad to be back. Love a Monday. So happy to see everyone and be back together. I was thinking, we were telling some stories last night at a church Christmas party of something that happened in my life that really is applicable to a lot of things. It's really kind of the way I do things. So, you know, I noticed I said in there the two words you never want to hear when you're making a recipe, or you never want to read. Well, back when I was in law school, so let's see, I was there 87 through 90. So this would have been Christmas 1987. I was just finishing my first semester of exams. You know, a really big landmark. You got to study a ton in law school, something I really wasn't used to from college and high school days that much, but you really got to study in law school. So I was really excited for some reason to make a gingerbread house. And I didn't want to make one of these kits you can buy these days. I wanted to do the real deal. I loved decorating sugar cookies and being really intricate and going all out with those. So I wanted to try my hand. You know how you, back then at least, you know, you'd go by and you'd see these elaborate gingerbread houses on magazine stands at the grocery store. And I wanted to do one of those. So I thought that's going to be my reward when I'm done with exams. Strange reward, right? So I finished my exams. I'd already bought all the ingredients. I had a nice book, because you know there's no internet back then. You couldn't just look it up on YouTube. You had to buy a book. So I had the book, the recipe, all the decorative pieces, the little candy to put on it. And I didn't want one this big. I wanted one this big. I wanted almost a village, a gingerbread village. So I was determined to get this done. Finished my last exam. Such a great feeling because it was so hard. And then the next, I was in Austin because I went to UT Law School. The next morning it was time to head to home for the holidays. And so didn't have a whole lot of time, but I thought this is going to be so relaxing. So I got the book out, got all my ingredients out, and I opened the book, pressed the spine down, and I read those two words, day one. I thought, what kind of recipe is this? Day one? This is a multi-day recipe? I've never heard of such a thing in my life. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. So I started reading through, and day one, turns out, when you make a legit gingerbread house, is making the gingerbread. Day two is assembling, cutting out and assembling the pieces, and then letting them harden for 24 hours. Stick together, you know, you want a good firm foundation on your gingerbread house. Day three is the fun part that I, of course, pictured all the decorating of the gingerbread house. So I don't know how I did it. I stayed up a lot of hours, but at least before it was time to head out, I had that thing basically assembled. It wasn't perfect, and I've got a photo of it somewhere. I need to dig it up. But made it happen. But that, you know, I think most of us do one of two things. We either jump too fast, like I did, right? Because I didn't keep up with that old saying. What is the carpenter saying? Measure twice, cut once. Okay, so I didn't pre-prepare. It's also a baking recipe. It's like, read that recipe multiple times. Savannah and I were baking sugar cookies this weekend, and she kept saying, you know, be really careful. She would go over and she would read, because we're doubling the recipe. So when you're doubling and you know you're making changes, as she said, let's actually write on here the amounts for doubling while we got clear heads, and let's not just get in a hurry and mess one of them up. Yes, a large unsweet tea, please.
What up for you?
That's all. Thank you. So we did well with the sugar cookies, and every time that happens, it makes me think of my example of the day one. That's a bad recipe, people. But which one are you? Are you the one that, like me, maybe I don't always look ahead and plan everything out and map it and have the perfect business plan? Measure all my variables, at least on paper. I don't do that the way that I think a lot of people would do, and the way that my coach, I know, would like for me to do. I'm working on it, Coach. But number two, there's a lot of people, I think, who have the opposite problem and who jump too slowly. They really want to analyze it, think it through, weigh the cost ad nauseum. And I would think, if I had to have a guess, I would say that there are far more of those people who take way too long to jump than there are people who jump right in too quickly. I'm not sure which one's better or worse. Probably because my life has worked out fine for me doing it the one way. I tend to prefer jumping too fast versus not jumping at all. Because, on the fly, let's face it, my gingerbread house might have been more orderly and organized had I looked ahead of time and gotten it really mapped out. But it came out. Thank you. But you know what? It came out just fine. And I had a gingerbread house. Had I taken the time to read through the recipe book ahead of time, what you got, Coco? Chances are I wouldn't have made a gingerbread house. I would have probably read all those details and gotten overwhelmed and not done it at all. So that's always a risk. But I'm really curious to hear from you guys which one you think is your bigger challenge. Do you jump in haste without counting the cost? Or do you get what we always call paralysis by analysis? You ever heard that one? I've known of people who think a decision to death. And calculating the variables that you can calculate is wonderful. What gets most people in trouble is they spend all their time calculating what you can't calculate, because you don't know what you don't know. So until you take that leap, you're never going to know or fully understand what you're getting into. I've had friends get into business and say, look, it can't miss. Look at these numbers. And then, of course, at the end of the year, you're looking at your P&L, and there are just factors in there that you didn't anticipate. And you can't know that until you dive in. So if you're on the fence between the two, I'd say jump a little early than jumping a little bit late. But I'd love to hear some feedback from you guys to see which one you think is easier to get sucked into as far as a problem. Other than that, I hope you're going to all have a wonderful holiday. I did post some photos of our house at Christmas. I didn't post all of them. I'm going to keep adding to that as well. I need to do the kitchen, bedroom, and a couple rooms like that for you guys to see our new house.
Hi, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Great day, bye.
Thank you, bye-bye. See, Coco's still getting her attention. She's looking all out the window. So that's what we're doing. What are you doing for the holidays? I'd love to know, too. Are you taking a trip? We've got a trip planned, and it is going to be pretty amazing, Lord willing. We have 4 of our 5 kids are going to be able to go with us, which is nearly a record, I guess. We've had that once or twice. We've never had all 5, but we've gotten close. So we are going to leave on the 20th, and we're going to fly to Stockholm, Sweden. We are going to stay at a home exchange house. I think I've told y'all it's one where we're not doing simultaneous exchanges, but where we have a balloon, which I can share more about that on another episode as well. But we're going to go to Stockholm, Sweden, and we're going to spend a week in a wonderful apartment there. Let's let this gentleman back. And then we're going to take an overnight ferry from Stockholm to Helsinki. They have these overnight ferries with cabins, like a little mini cruise ship. It's supposed to be a lot of fun, actually. Smorgasbord and all of that. And then we're going to spend one night in Helsinki. Then we're going to take the overnight, they call it the Arctic Express, or the Santa Express overnight train from Helsinki up north into the northernmost region of Finland. How many of you guys have heard of Lapland, Finland? It's where Santa lives and all the reindeer. If you ever look up neatest places to go for Christmas, most Christmas-like experience, Lapland always ends up in the top results, and so I wanted to check that out. So we're going to go to Lapland and see Santa and all the reindeer and be in the very cold weather. And then New Year's Eve, we're going to spend the night in the original Ice Hotel. The girls and I, before I knew Wes, in 2013, the girls and I spent the night in a snow hotel in Norway at Christmas, and it was the best, the neatest experience. So I wanted to do that again and have the other kids there as well. Plus, when you look them up, this one in Finland is really known more as the original than the one we stayed in. So that's what our plans are. We'd love to hear what you guys are doing. Are you going to stay around, just enjoy some time with family, or are you going to hit the road? We've decided that, we were talking at church last night, there's I brought up, to me, there are 2 problems, because when we talk about Christmas memories, don't a lot of us bring up the times back when folks would get an orange or some nuts in their stocking, and they were really grateful, and they got one toy. If they were really doing pretty well, they got a toy. And so I said, that was a challenge for parents. Makes you think of the old Merle Haggard song, If We Make It Through December. But so that was a challenge for parents to have the funds to be able to buy anything for their children for Christmas. But how many of you think, is it a bigger challenge today? I almost think, where we all already have everything. And to me, it has taken completely the fun out of gift giving. I don't want it anymore. I don't want any gifts. I don't want to give my kids gifts. They have everything. And that's a blessing and a curse. I wouldn't go back. So I think it's a wonderful thing, but I'm not sure that it doesn't rob us of some of the joy of being able to give a gift. That's why we travel at the holidays. That at least is an experience, a memory, something I feel like they will always have with them, and I won't be digging it out of the closet next year new with tags on it and taking it to a garage sale. So that's what we're going to be doing. I would love to hear what you guys are doing, and looking forward to a wonderful Monday week. You know, I hadn't even thought about it because, again, I don't really plan. I do plan, but things sneak up on me. So what I'm trying to say is we leave on the 20th, and I do believe that's like next Thursday, a week from Thursday. So the itinerary is planned. The tickets of everything are bought and pre-planned. All the lodging is pre-planned. But now I do want to plan some additional activities, and it is really sneaking up on us. So, but I'm going to be here with you until the 20th. So reach out. Let me know if there's anything you want to talk about, anything you want to share. And other than that, I will see you, Lord willing, tomorrow morning. Have a great one.